Good morning, everybody. Jeff here from Cuttermasters. Today we're going to grind some rather large end mill ends with YNO3B. The YNO3B does 2, 3, 4, and 6 flutes from about 1/2 inch up to 1.5 inches. Your basic setting port is here, where you time the tool. You put the chuck has numbers on it. You time the number 1 up here, and then you put your number 1 flute against this tooth rest, which is adjustable. So today we'll set that for 1.5 inches. Then we begin, once the tool is set and your tooth is timed up against there, you go over to this side. We're going to do a gash, and then we'll go around the back of the machine and we'll do the secondaries, and then we'll do the primaries. When you're doing your gash, on the YN machines, this shelf is adjustable, so on a 6 flute you go a deep cut with flutes 1 and 4, and then there's a table right here that tells you how to set your heights. In our case, we found it best to go 0 for flutes 1 and 4, and then we'll back up 1 full revolution of the dial, or 10 millimeters, to do the 2, 3, 5, and 6. So when you're doing the ends, when you're going from one geometry to a new geometry, which is whatever geometry your machine produces, there's a lot of material to be removed. So you want to be cautious not to overheat the tool when you do that. Don't be afraid. Have some water nearby. If it was on a CNC, it would have been flood coolant anyway, so you want to keep the steel down to a reasonable temperature. There's a lot of difference in geometries when you go from machine to machine, so when you make your first cut on a new tool that has somebody else's geometry on it, be careful not to overheat the tool by overgrinding it. Here, for example, we have an Oculate 6 flute. You can see the difference. This is a grind that we've just produced with the O3B. And this is a 6 flute before we get to that. You can see that our grind has a lot better clearance in the secondaries and the gash than theirs does. So there's a lot of material being removed when the tool is this large in diameter. So take a couple of cuts. If the tool starts to get hot, just put it in some water, then blow it off with air and go back to it. Make sure you don't overheat your tool. It'll slow things down, and you run the risk of plugging your wheels, which you don't want to do. So now we'll time the tool, and we'll get started. We're going to go through this tool I've already sharpened so that it doesn't take so long, but you'll get the idea, and hopefully we'll get an end that looks just like that when we're finished. Okay, so first we're going to load the tool into the tool holder. With the number 1 being up here, this tool holder has numbers all the way around these flats. So number 1 flute's going to be over here, so we're going to put the center cutting flute over to the side. Make sure all these screws are loose. So we'll just snug one of these screws a little bit so the tool doesn't drop. The tool's all the way up. But the easiest way to do this, whenever you're holding these large holders, is rest your hand on the machine. It's a very accurate fit between the holder and the bore in all cases. So if you're not going square into the socket, it'll bind on you all the time. So load the tool holder in, lock it over against the flat, then loosen up your set screw, bring your tool down, get it up against the tool rest, and then just give this next set screw snug, probably at least 3 places. Now we're going to gash the tool. It's the gashing shelf. Before you start, make sure the bore is wiped out. Commonly this will collect a lot of dirt from the wheels right below it. Shelf is all the way down to begin with. We're going to do flutes 1 and 4. So the number 1 goes up against this arrow. Just drop it down in line with that pin. rotate around to flute number 4. Gravity will take it in. Now we're going to do the other gashes, which are not quite as deep. Go once around. We're doing 2, 3, 5, and 6. Just let gravity take it down. Good, tool's getting a little warm. We're going to cool it off a little bit. Now we're going to turn around to the secondary grind. Secondary grind's back here. This is kind of a thoughtful process. The tool has to go straight into the flats. It can be rotated a little counterclockwise and then drop in. Rock it when it's in there. Put a load on the counterclockwise when you're pulling it out. Because this tool is about the maximum size for this machine, so clearances are kind of tight. So if you observe all these little nuances, then you'll get it right. You won't take any corners off. So, and there's a lot of pressure here, so you want to be holding on to the machine. So, once again, make sure the ports are clean. And then there's no particular sequence. Go in. Rock the chuckle away. Load counterclockwise coming out. Over rotate just a little. Go in. Pull it out before you rotate it. And don't hit the switch. That's good. Let's just check this out. Okay, now we're going to do the primary. Primary port's right here. It's quite deep. It's a fairly accurate cut. Make sure it's clean. Just go once around. Make sure that you grind until it's kind of quiet. And this governs your length, so you want to make sure it's a good flutes are all the same length. as you're center cutting